was organized by the ICSI IPA for making the amendment or changes, whatever you have required to made. So the ICSI IPA was the purpose of organizing this webinar is there. We can submit our fruitful comments to the IBBI for the amendments. So I'm just requesting to all the participants, if there is the possibility, they will on their cameras, and they will give their feedbacks, and they will also provide their comments in the comment session, so we can make this whole webinar series very interactive and fruitful, and we can also further submit our comments to the IBBI for the further amendment. So we'll start now. I just share the screen. I was not prepared any PPT. I have only I will present the regulations and whatever the amendments are there in the as per the IBBI. I also request to all the participants, they will mute their voice, because some of the voice was coming from the side. So I am requesting to the participants, kindly mute their audio.
Madam, your audio is not there. No audio, madam. We are not getting your voice, ma'am.
Please unmute, ma'am.
Ma'am,
you are
your voice
muted.
is
Please
not
unmute.
coming.
Madam, please unmute yourself.
Okay. So I'm requesting to all the participants, kindly on their videos, and they mute their audio. And welcome to all the participants in this session. And this is not only the session in which I will only explain. This is the session in which the feedback or comments from your side is also required to the IBBI for the further amendments in all the regulations, not only this regulations, because this series was organized by the ICSI IPA, and there is the whole session, the whole workshops was related to the changes whatever made by the IBBI in the recent regulations, and whatever your feedback or comments on the amendments or the regulations, so we can provide our comments to the IBBI for the further amendments. So I request to all the participants, please give your feedback and your comments at the end of this session, and also they can put their comments on the chat box also, so the ICSI IPA can submit the whole comments to the IBBI. Now
Hello,
I
madam.
will start. Yeah, I will start.
Hello.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Am I audible now? So,
Yes, you are very much audible.
Okay.
Yes,
Fine.
yes, you are very much audible, madam. Continue, may continue.
Thank you, sir. Sir, I just share the voluntary liquidation, because today's topic is there, the review of the voluntary liquidation. So first, we will discuss the voluntary liquidation, and whatever in 2025, the changes are there, whatever the changes are there. So I will show you. This is the regulation. Can you see the regulation? The regulation.
No, madam, we
No,
are not
ma'am.
able to see. It is not open.
1 minute, sir. I'm just downloading and then we'll share. Now,
Yeah, now it is visible. Now it is visible.
Yes, ma'am.
okay, 1 minute, sir. 1 minute. Mhm. So, now, so the regulation is visible to all. So, we will discuss this regulation. This was amended on 29 January 2025. Till 29 January 2025, this is amended. Now, the regulation was come into force on 1st April 2017. But before discussion on this regulation, I will also show you the section which is provide for the voluntary liquidation. As you all are professional who are attending today's webinar, you all knows the section. However, there is a review, there is a need to read the regulation as well as section also. So we can make a better understanding on this regulation. So I just share the screen also. So basically, this is the voluntary liquidation section, which is provided as per chapter number 5 and the section 59. So what is provided as per this section? The voluntary liquidation of a corporate person. Basically, the corporate person word is used here. So what is the regulation is provided now? The definitions. If we will discuss the definition, this was come into force on 1st April and amendments was made on 29th January 2025. So what is the definition here? The code is the IBC code 2016. And what is the meaning of contributory here? The contributory means the person, the member of a company, means the shareholder basically, and the partner of a LLP and any other person liable to contribute towards the assets of the corporate person in the event of liquidation. So whoever the person who is liable to contribute towards the assets of the corporate person in the event of liquidation are called as the contributory. Now, what is the definition of the corporate voluntary liquidation account? So what is this account? This account means the account which was operated and maintained by the board. So IBBI board. Board means is here the IBBI board. The liquidation commencement date. So this is important. The what is the liquidation commencement date? Because you have read so many times the liquidation commencement date. When you will give your public announcement, you have to mention there what is the liquidation commencement date. Now, the meaning of the liquidation commencement date was provided as per the regulation, if we will discuss, means the date on which the proceedings for voluntary liquidation commence as per section 59 subsection 5 and regulation 3 subsection 3. So this is basically the definition which is provided as per the regulation. Now, as because it was mentioned here, the voluntary liquidation commence as per section 59 subsection 5. So we have required to read this section also. So we will read this section, what is provided as per this section. The my screen is visible now, section 59 subsection 5.
Yes, yes, it is visible. It is visible.
Yeah, sir, if one of the participant can want to read, they can read, if anyone.
You want to
Okay.
read this 59 subsection 5?
Yes, yes, sir.
It is subject to approval of the creditors under subsection 3. The
Yes.
voluntary liquidation proceedings in respect of a company shall be deemed to have commenced from the date of passing of the resolution under subclause C
C.
of subsection 3.
So what is provided as per subsection 3 or subclause C? We have required to
Subject-
read this also, sir, here.
Subsection 3 I will read entirely.
Yeah,
Without prejudice to the subsection 2. I will read 59 all. It is better, I think.
okay, okay, sir.
Voluntary liquidation of corporate persons.
Yes, sir.
15.1. A corporate person who intends to liquidate itself voluntarily and has not committed any default may initiate voluntary liquidation proceedings under the provisions of this chapter.
So the meaning of corporate person is here, the LLP as well as the company. So both are covered here.
The voluntary liquidation of a corporate person under subsection 1 shall meet such conditions and procedural requirements as may be specified by the board.
Yes, sir.
Without
So-
prejudice to the subsection 2, voluntary liquidation proceedings of a corporate person registered as a company shall meet the following conditions, namely A declaration from majority of the directors of the company verified by an affidavit stating that they have made a full inquiry into the affairs of the company and they have formed an opinion that either the company has no debt or that it will be able to pay its debts in full form, the proceeds of the full from the proceeds of the assets to be sold in the voluntary liquidation. And the company is not being liquidated to defraud any person. This is one condition.
Yes, sir. So the second one, sir, B part also.
Yeah. The subsection subclause B is the declaration under subclause A shall be accompanied with the following documents, namely audited financial statements and record of business operations of the company for the previous 2 years or for the period since its incorporation, whichever is later.
Yes, sir.
And a report of valuation of the assets of the company, if any, prepared by a registered valuer.
And within
And the third one is the subclass C is within 4 weeks of a declaration under subclass A, there shall be a special resolution of the members of the company in a general meeting requiring the company to be liquidated voluntarily and appointing an insolvency professional to act as the liquidator, or a resolution of the members of the company in a general meeting requiring the company to be liquidated voluntarily as a result of expiry of the period of its duration, if any, fixed by its articles, or on the occurrence of any event in respect of which the articles provide that the company shall be dissolved as the case may be, and appointing an insolvency professional to act as the liquidator, provided that the company owes any debt to any person, creditors representing 2/3 of its value of the debt of the company shall approve the resolution passed under subclass C within 7 days of such resolution.
Yes, sir. The subsection 5 we are reading ki subject to the approval of creditors means creditors approval is required. The 2/3 of the value they have defined. The voluntary liquidation proceeding in respect of a company shall be deemed to have commenced from the date of the passing of the resolution under subclause C means the resolution which was passed as per subclause 3. This is the these are the subclauses. So basically this was provided as per, if we will discuss here, the liquidation commencement date. What is the meaning of liquidation commencement date? Means a date on which the proceedings for voluntary liquidation commence as per section 59 subsection 5, which we have already read here. And the regulation 3 subsection 3, we will also read the regulation 3 subsection 3. This is also here 3 sub regulation 3.
Shall I read?
Yeah, yes sir, I'm just showing you. Yeah.
Shall I read only 3 subsection 3? 3
Yeah,
regulations.
this is
Regulations of
yeah.
subject to approval of the creditors.
Yes, sir.
subject to approval of the creditors under sub-regulation 1, the liquidation proceedings in respect of a corporation shall be deemed to have commenced from the date of passing of the resolution under subclause C of sub-regulation 1. The same sub-regulation 1.
Yes, sir. So, because as per, if I will think on this definition, because this is my personal opinion, we will discuss because this is the interactive session and the feedback from all the participants is also required here. Because as per my opinion is there, the liquidation commencement date is specifically when we will read regulation and section both, then I have still a confusion that the liquidation commencement date should be commenced from the date when the shareholders will pass the resolution or when the creditors will pass the resolution. So if in case if a company is not having any creditors, then the liquidation commencement date, which is will be considered as the can be considered the date of the commencement date is the date when the shareholders means the company's members have passed the special resolution, or the date when the if the company is having the creditors, then what date should be considered here. So I think as per my opinion, there should be some more clarity in this regulation. The IBBI should define in a proper way ki what will be the liquidation commencement date. This will be considered from the date when the shareholders will pass the resolution or the creditors will pass the resolution, or if there is a company in which there is no creditor, but after some time some of the creditors came and they have filed the appeal that the liquidator was not considering my debt. So what will be the date in this case, the liquidation commencement date, what was the date? So there is a more specific, more clarity was required from the IBBI as per my opinion. So I also invited to all the participants, if they want to submit any feedback or their comments or they have the clarity, so they can give their views also, because this is the interactive session. We are not only discuss the regulations, we will also give our feedback and comments here also. So are the participants is agree with me, or they are also thinking as I am thinking, or they are having some different opinion? So
Only two situations are there, where the creditors are there, where there are no creditors. If there are creditors, the
Yes.
resolution should be supported by 2/3 majority of the creditors also.
yes, sir.
And if there are no creditors, the resolution passed by the company itself is the date. There is no confusion, na?
No, there is a confusion. I think
Yes, ma'am, there is no ambiguity. In this part, there is no ambiguity. The date of resolution of the shareholder itself, it is the commencement of the liquidation.
Sir, but subject
It's a clear, it's a clear.
Yes, sir. And after some time, if some of the creditors have came and they have filed their claim, so at that time, what will be the liquidation commencement date means?
No, madam, once it is commenced,
Then
once
by
it is
whom-
commenced, that is the commencement date.
That's all, that's
Even
all.
we have handled one case where the
What I
company
think-
board
Yes,
resolved
sir.
that there is no dues from dues to creditors.
Okay.
Yeah,
After
the
we
company-
issued public notice,
Yeah, yeah.
notice, there will be some claim will come.
Claim
We
will
have
come.
to, we have to
Yes,
verify
yes.
and admit that. That's all.
Yes, sir, yes, yes.
Okay. Okay.
The
So
management perfectly know that they have the sufficient funds to meet the requirements of the creditors.
okay. So
Yeah,
sir,
that's it.
very
Some-
clear,
it-
no
creditors
amendments is
meeting.
required. Now, I think there is no amendment is required and there is no comment required to be submitted to the IBBI.
Yes, yes.
Ma'am, I have a different point.
Yes, sir.
If a creditors meeting is required, in fact, there should not be required for holding any creditors meeting, because the shareholder, basis of the director's statement, that there is no any dues, or if dues is there, then it will be paid from the assets of the company.
Yes, sir. Basing on the affidavit, because the directors are submitting the affidavit, because they are
Yes,
not,
madam.
yeah. That is
Suppose
enough. That
as
is
you
enough.
said-
That is enough.
So
Madam,
Affidavit is
Madam,
enough.
as you said,
even if
as you
there is
said,
no creditors meeting and only on the basis of the commencement date, on the basis of the shareholders meeting, then if any claim is coming, then that should be paid off by. So this language of the creditors unnecessary creating confusion. This is
Yes.
my view.
Yes, sir. So,
I think,
so-
Madam, I will say, no?
Madam, the
only difference in normal liquidation and voluntary liquidation is that in voluntary liquidation, even if the creditors claim came afterwards, after the public announcement, they have to be paid. All the creditors have to be paid in satisfied in full in voluntary liquidation.
Exactly.
Yes.
Then suppose if the creditors come thereafter,
so,
if the
so-
creditors come thereafter after deemed commencement of LCD,
Mhm.
the company must be coming under, the company is not being liquidated to defraud any person. Suppose if the company is not declaring that company is declaring that there are no creditors, but later on some creditors are cropping up, then it definitely it has to be not considered for voluntary liquidation.
Mhm. So, the comments, we.
Think this
Yes, sir. Yes.
approval of the creditor is redundant because when they are to be paid in full and there is
Yes,
a
yes.
I think
So,
this provision is not required.
so we can
Exactly.
say, we can give a note to the IBBI on this regulation also. The liquidation commencement date should be considered the date when the SR, special resolution, have been passed and the declaration was already given by the director. So no need to make the creditors meeting.
Yes, there is no, it should be the proposal.
Yes.
Yeah, presently there is a
so,
creditors approval is required as per regulation 3 sub-regulation 1C. That can be, we can recommend to the
meeting
IBPA
of
to
the
dispense with
registrar.
that.
Yes, sir. Sir, we will also discuss if something is left in the end of the session. So we will discuss the regulation here. Now, what is the meaning of registrar? As we know, the registrar is basically for the LLP, is the ROC for the company, and LLP also the ROC is there. So this is basically shall have the same meaning assigned to it under section 275 of the Companies Act or section 21S of the LLP Act, or the authority administering the act under which the corporate person is incorporated as applicable. So this is the registrar basically.
Ma'am, please change this screen. It is showing the section.
The section, okay, I will show you the registrar section. You want to see this section, section 2,
It is in the
No, it's a
regulation.
definition. What it is a definition to
subsection 75. You want
class
to
D. Yeah, yeah, that
Okay.
is section. In the regulation, this part is the D. To definition part 2, class D.
Okay, the registrar shall have the meaning as per section 275 of the Companies Act. So we have required to read the section 275 of the Companies Act. If you want, so I can show you this section also. You want? If you want,
ma'am.
I can show.
No, you don't want.
Okay,
This is not
okay.
one.
And 21S of the LLP Act, because these both acts we have required to discuss here, but now there is no need, I think so. So the stakeholders means the stakeholders entitled to proceeds from the sale of the liquidation assets under section 53 means whatever as per prescribed as a waterfall section. This is 53 section, in which ratio the stakeholders means entitled to proceeds from the sale of the liquidation. The term of the liquidation in these regulation refer to the voluntary liquidation. Unless the context otherwise required, the word and expression used and not defined these regulation but defined in the code shall have the meaning assigned to them in the code. Now, what is the commencement of liquidation? This is chapter 2 of this regulation, which is provided for initiation of the liquidation. Whatever we have read in section 59 subsection 2, the sir was read it today, this section here. This is specifically mentioned here without prejudice to section 59 subsection 2. The voluntary liquidation of a corporate person under subsection 1 shall meet such condition and procedural requirement as may be specified by the board. So specifically, all these conditions should be meted out. A declaration from the majority of the designated partner, if this is a LLP, or if this is the company, then the governing body, basically the board of directors, we have required their consent. Individual constituting the governing body in case of the corporate person. As the case may be verified by an affidavit, this should be verified by the affidavit also. What is mentioned in the affidavit is stating that they had made a full inquiry into the affairs of the corporate person, and they have formed an opinion that either the corporate person has no debt or that it will be able to pay its debt in full form. Means either they have no debt or they are the solvent, the company is solvent and the company is able to pay all its debt from the proceeds of the assets to be sold in the liquidation, because the assets whatever available in the company from which the assets can be paid off. The corporate person is not being liquidated to defraud any person. So, and because this, when you will read the 4, here is this was inserted, the 4, because this was omitted. And end word here was exist in earlier scenario, the end was existed here. But this was deleted, omitted, this word was omitted. Why omitted? Because this new sub regulation was inserted. So this is inserted also in 31st January 2024. So what is inserted here? The corporate person is not being liquidated to defraud any person, because sometimes the liquidation, the companies want to go for the voluntary liquidation to defraud the creditors or some other person. So this was specifically mentioned here ki the corporate person is not being liquidated to defraud any person. And now end word is inserted here because this was omitted earlier but now inserted here because of inserting this sub-regulation. Now 6, if we will see, read this was also inserted on 31st January 2024. What is this? The corporate person has made sufficient provision to meet the obligations arising on account of the pending matters mentioned in subclause 3 of clause B. We will read this clause now. The corporate person has made the sufficient provision to meet the obligation arising on account of the pending matters mentioned in subclause 3 of clause B. This is the clause B, and we will read its subclause 3 also. The declaration.
Ma'am, what you are reading is not appearing in the screen, ma'am.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
What you are reading, no, what you are reading is not appearing in the screen. Can you please share the screen?
Screen is not moving, ma'am. It is fixed.
Screen is showing the act. You are reading the regulation.
Okay. I'm just sharing.
Is it required to read all the
sir. I'm sharing again.
No. Ma'am, is it required to read all the act and regulation?
Now, can you see my screen? Is this visible now?
Yes.
Visible.
Yeah. So I'm reading this basically. The corporate person has made the sufficient provision to meet the obligation arising on account of the pending matters mentioned in first of all, the affidavit, whatever required to be mentioned in the affidavit, they are telling these 3 clauses have required to be mentioned when we will made any affidavit. So we have required to verify these things. And now the declaration under subclause A. And this I have also shown that this end was omitted on 31st January 2024, and because this sub-regulation was inserted on 31st January 2024, so the end was exist here before this amendment. The end was exist here. Now this was omitted.
Ma'am, I have a
yes, sir.
point. In this clause, that sufficient provision, if there are any pending matters, in voluntary liquidation, like the scheme is we wind up everything, we close the bank account, then we approach to NCLT. So this provision, which it's referring to, so how this provision is practically made and used later on, can this be like if there is a holding company and there is a subsidiary company? This is part B of my question. So if the subsidiary company is being voluntarily liquidated, and they make a provision in the books of holding company, like because this holding company is going to exist, but the subsidiary company will be
Going to
dissolved.
liquidated.
Will that, if that holding company makes a provision, will that suffice this clause? This part B of my question.
No, sir. What you are asking ki if the holding company has mentioned.
There are two parts. There are two parts to my question. The one is how the sufficient provision in case of voluntary liquidation is practically possible, because the company will make some provision, but ultimately it will close the bank account and file for closure. So if there are pending matters which are still continuing at the time of filing of dissolution application, how this provision is practically made possible?
Sir, they are asking the corporate person has made the sufficient provision to meet the obligation arising on account of the pending, means if the whatever is showing in the balance sheet, like the contingency, if there is some contingency liability is there in the balance sheet, so they have already made the provision. Suppose because in this they have already told the company should be solvent company. The company should able to pay its all debt full and its debts in full from the proceeds of the assets to be sold in liquidation. So as per as per my thinking is there, they have given their affidavit by specifying the clause that they have the sufficient fund, means whatever the obligation if they will arise, they have the sufficient provision to meet the obligation arising on account of the pending matters mentioned in subclause 3 of
Kindly go to subclass.
yeah, because
kindly
this
go to the
clause is
subclass, then
required
only we will
yeah,
have the full view.
this clause is also required to read here. First, the declaration under subclause A shall be accompanied with the following documents, namely, what is the documents? The audited financial statement and records of the business operations of the corporate person for the previous 2 years, or for the period since its incorporation, whichever is later, and a report of the valuation of the assets of the corporate person, if any, prepared by the registered valuer. And
in this second
yeah,
point,
the second
there are
point.
more number of cases are coming. Only they have cash and bank balances, where there is no need to verify. It can be made clear in the regulation. Where there are only cash and bank balance, no need for valuation. That can be
Yes, sir.
specifically mentioned.
Yes, sir. And disclose now the third point. The third point which
Ma'am,
we are discussing.
sorry.
Yes, sir. Yes,
There
sir.
is a question. The question is how to make a provision. The in whose name, in under what name the company is getting liquidated.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So I am reading. I am going on the clause B, sub clause 3. We will read this clause together, sir. The disclosure about pending proceedings, because we know the income tax proceeding is going on, the GST proceeding is going on, or some other proceeding is going on, or assessment before statutory authorities and pending litigation in respect of the corporate person. So we know कि whatever the pending proceeding is already going on, and we have this fund, and in case if they will succeed, then we have the sufficient provision to meet all these obligations. So this type of declaration they have only required here in the affidavit.
No, question
But
is
this
if we
is
have
not
to
very
create a
clear
fund,
under this.
what will be, who will be the operating person,
Where
and
the funds will be
what will be the name of the account?
My issue is that under clause 3,
Yes,
it is
sir.
mentioned that corporate person has made sufficient provision to meet the obligation arises on account of pending matters. So
Yes.
pending matters related to only this, which is mentioned on this.
Which is mentioned
clause
only
3.
on the balance sheet of the company, because the pending matters have required to be shown in the balance sheet also, na sir?
So that it is not much clear. This clause 3 is not give clear picture on this.
Okay,
even if
you all suggest that there is some amendments is also required in clause
Yes,
E also.
yes, it is
Okay.
required.
Okay, so what should be the language? What language should be used if anyone can written in the comment?
I feel
Yes, sir. Yes.
section itself, if you go a little bit above,
Yes, sir.
little bit above, you can see the starting of this section. We should read first. It is for the management. It is meant for the management, not for the liquidator. It is the management that takes a call on all these things. This is the affidavit to be signed by the management.
Yes,
Whatever
yes.
records they have,
Hmm.
based on that, they are giving this declaration. This declaration may turn out to be untrue also. If that turns out untrue, liquidator has to step in and inform the NCLT, and this will be out of voluntary liquidation. Whatever management declares is as per the books of accounts. So I feel this is sufficient provisions mean as per the books of accounts. Whatever the
Yes.
pending matters and whatever
As
the
per the-
pending proceedings,
Yeah,
as per the audited balance sheet,
Audited balance
not
sheet.
the normal balance sheet.
And
It should be
the-
audited balance.
Then the next question is that how this provision made if the corporate person is not exist after dissolution, then where they keep this provision?
Sir, provision will be
Sir.
made during the voluntary liquidation period itself. Unless all obligations are met, you can't file for voluntary liquidation with NCLT.
You have to remit, sir. You have to remit. If
Ah.
you make a provision, you have to remit withhold the amount, remit it to the voluntary liquidation account only. You cannot, once you made a provision, you cannot pay that amount to contributing.
The provision towards liability,
Yes.
you need to resolve before you file an application to NCLT for all.
exactly, you need to park the funds.
Park the funds in voluntary liquidation account, sir. If that case succeeds, they have to file a application to the
Voluntary
IBBA and get
liquidation
that
account,
money.
sir, is not meant for parking. There is a specific this thing. It reads dividend unclaimed proceeds have to be parked there. If you go to the voluntary liquidation
Then
account,
we can request to make it a specific, sir. We can
Sir,
make
can
a
you-
request to make it specific what
because
has to
see,
be done.
there is a just to add into this complexity, there is a provision in section 30, regulation 38, where the liquidator files a final report. There, liquidators are also required to make a sufficient provision. The language is similar there in 38 clause 1 part 3 or second, I think. It says the liquidator has to provide and make a sufficient provision for pending matters. Yeah,
Yes.
just hold on, ma'am. Hold on.
Yes,
38, 1
yes.
and 3. Yeah, this one.
Yes,
This exactly.
yes.
It is also the responsibility is cast on liquidator here.
Yes, sir. So I think sir is right. There should be the audited balance sheet. We should the IBBI should write here. I think the audited balance sheet.
Ma'am, what happens if some claim comes during the this thing liquidation proceeding? Some claim comes, some matters become pending. Some litigation matters. If it's not mentioned on the balance sheet, and if it's something comes during the course, then you can't have on the balance sheet. It is during the course of liquidation that liability came.
No, no, sir.
But
This is,
because
sir,
of,
this is
because of this, the delay was also going on in the voluntary liquidation.
sir,
package
this
also, na?
this section what ma'am is showing, it pertains to furnishing of affidavit by the management.
ಇದು ICS.
It is not. It is if
This is-
something comes
This
after
is
that,
the
we have to deal with
affidavit
it.
which is required to be submitted by the directors, by the board of directors from the company. This is the
So
affidavit.
whatever comes after
So-
that, we have to deal with it.
Yes, sir.
Liquidator.
In case there is no. It is an affidavit giving a confirmation that they have made sufficient.
They have, they have the
Once the
sufficient.
proceeding is started and any claims come, that will be liquidated to handle that.
Yes.
If the situation comes that the funds available are not enough to meet these liabilities, then who is responsible to complete the
That
liquidation
company
process?
is not solvent, sir. You have to take it the company out of liquidation.
Yeah, in that case, liquidation scheme fails.
Then that there is no
As per-
clear provision in the regulations that if such situation arises, what should be the
Sir, once you file the preliminary report,
Sir,
once you are
may
filing
interrupt
preliminary
to,
report,
all the
you will
participants
get to know
here.
what is the asset liabilities.
Please, if there is any possibility, they can mention their comments in the chat box also. Provide their feedbacks in the comment section. So the ICSI IPA can also consider their comments, whatever they want. If they want some amendments in this regulation, they can write in the chat box. So we will further proceed, sir. Now, within 4 weeks of a declaration under subclause A, there shall be a resolution passed by the special majority of partners, if this is the LLP, or contributories, as the case may be. In case of company, there is the contributories of a corporate person, including requiring a corporate person to be liquidated and appointing a insolvency professional to act as a liquidator. So this is the resolution which was passed by the special majority of partners or the shareholders of the company for the appointment of the liquidator. So who will appoint the liquidator here? The general body meeting means
Only one
Yeah.
point I want to
Yeah.
add about the
Yes.
date of commencement of liquidation.
Yes.
They say the date of passing of resolution is the date of commencement of voluntary liquidation. There is a time gap between the passing of resolution and the communication to the insolvency profession. So the date on which it is communicated should be taken as the date of commencement. That should
Yes.
be an amendment.
Yes, yes, sir. So if you want, you can put your comment also in the chat box, sir. So the ICSI IPA can consider this later on, because the webinar will be end today, and I think we forget and they forget. So if the participant can want, they can submit their comments in the chat box also. Now, a resolution of a partners or a contributories, as the case may be, requiring a corporate person to be liquidated as a result of expiry of the period of its duration, if any, fixed by its constitutional documents, or on occurrence of any event in respect of which the constitutional documents provides that the corporate person shall be dissolved, as the case may be. So either with the SR, or if there is anything is mentioned in their articles of the company, then the event was already occurred, so they can be dissolved as per the constitutional documents of the company. Now, that provided that the corporate person owes any debt to any person, creditors representing 2/3 in value of the debt of the corporate person shall approve the resolution passed under subclause C within 7 days of such resolution. Means the resolution whatever passed by the members, the contributories or the majority of partners, this resolution have required to be present before the creditors, because this is written here, the creditors representing 2/3 of the value of the debt. Basically, they are representing 2/3 of the value of the debt of the corporate person shall approve the resolution passed under subclause C within 7 days of such resolution. So when the resolution was passed by the members, then creditors will pass this resolution. Now, the corporate person shall notify the registrar and the board about the resolution under sub-regulation 1 to liquidate the corporate person within 7 days. The days is also here mentioned 7 days, and is the 7 days is also given for this. So if we have passed both the resolution, we have required to intimate to the registrar within 7 days of after passing this such resolution, or the subsequent approval by the creditors, as the case may be. And subject to the approval of the creditors under sub-regulation 1, the liquidation proceeding in respect of the corporate person shall be deemed to have commenced from the date of the passing of the resolution under subclause C of sub-regulation 1. So this was written here ki subject to the approval of the creditors, means the creditors' approval is required. The subject to the approval of the creditors under sub-regulation 1, the liquidation proceedings in respect of the corporate person shall be deemed to have commenced from the date of the passing of the resolution. Subclause C of regulation 1 means this.
Yes, this is the regulation I'm
so,
talking about.
yeah,
This is the regulation I'm talking about. That needs change. Regulation 3.
Yeah, so this
Yes, 3.
needs change. Now explanation for the purpose of sub-regulation 1 to 3, the corporate person means a corporate person other than a company. So here they have prescribed the corporate person means a corporate person other than a company. A declaration under sub-regulation 1A or under section 59 subsection 3 or A shall list each debt of the corporate person as on that date and state that the corporate person will be liable to pay all its debt in full from the proceeds of the assets to be sold in the liquidation. So this is mentioned here, the list of the debt of the corporate person as on that date. So I think balance sheet should be shown this list. How we will verify they have mentioned the debt, whatever the debt is there, how the liquidator will verify. So I think there should be something is also mentioned that shall list each debt of the corporate person on
So
that
they have to give
date
tally accounts.
as per their
Tally.
audited balance sheet.
They will hand over tally accounts.
Yes, yes.
There will be a ledger account of all the creditors. So they can verify all the debts have been listed from the accounts of.
Sir, sometimes ledger accounts are not giving the proper view. The audited balance sheet, I think.
Audited balance sheet breakup will not be there, madam. It will be only totally shown, trade payables like that. Each person name will not be available.
Okay. So you are saying as per the ledger.
As per the ledger, in voluntary liquidation, mostly they will hand over all the accounts. There will be no problem.
So the declaration under sub-regulation 1A or under subsection this shall list each debt of the corporate person as on that date and state that the corporate person will be able to pay all its debt in full from the proceeds of the assets to be sold in liquidation. Now the declaration under sub-regulation 1A or under section 59(3)(a) shall provide that the corporate person has made the provision for the preservation of its records after its dissolution. Already mentioned regulation is also here. I think regulation 41 is
And
there.
here also regulation 5, sub-regulation 5, mere declaration is made. How it is preserved, with whom it is preserved, it has to be mentioned. Actually, it should be more clear because at a later date, when some agencies seek records, it should be made known to the agencies. This records, even for winding up or anything, 8 years records has to be preserved. And this even in winding up under companies, there is any irregularity, they can be reinstated. Company can be reinstated. There is a provision. So the records has to be maintained, but it should be made more unambiguous. Where they are going to preserve the law or under whose custody it will be. It has to be mentioned clearly. The manner in which I will say declaration shall provide the corporate that made provision for it is a mere declaration.
Sir, this is the declaration, mere declaration, but regulation 41, if we will read this regulation. Preservation of records is there. The liquidator shall preserve copies of all such records which are required to give a complete account of the voluntary liquidation process. And means this is the liquidator shall preserve the copies of only those records which are required to give a complete.
That is after commencement of liquidation, ma'am. There they are talking about the company records prior to liquidation.
Yes, yes.
So that should be preserved, and it should not only a declaration, but they also should state the manner whose custody it will be there. The responsible person, like a director. They should mention specifically. This will give room for unnecessary things.
Yes, yes.
Law should be always very clear.
Yes, sir. This point to be noted, sir. If this will be better, if you will also mention in the comment box. This is very.
What is the regulation number?
Yes, sir. I'm showing. This is the
sub-regulation 5.
Yeah.
Main regulation. Main
no,
regulation.
no. This is not so. I think.
41.
No, it is not
Wait,
41.
No,
It
no,
is not 41.
45 is the preservation of records.
Regulation 3.
Regulation 3, the declaration, this is.
Sub-regulation 5,
Sub-regulation
okay.
5, yes. So this is the regulation. So preservation of the records to be maintained by the company, in which way and who will take care of these records.
Yes, manner of person.
Yes, sir.
It's a
Now,
resolution.
So this is the interactive session. We will discuss with each other. We will get more knowledge. So effect of liquidation. What was the effect of liquidation? The corporate person shall, from the liquidation commencement date, cease to carry on its business except as far as required for the beneficial binding up of its business. And notwithstanding the provision of subsection 1, the corporate person shall continue to exist until it is dissolved under section 59 subsection 8. So what will be the effect of the liquidation? They have told here. Now, appointment and remuneration of the liquidator. So how the appointment of the liquidator? Subject to the regulation 6. The corporate person shall appoint an insolvency professional as liquidator, and wherever required may replace him. Means they can also replace the liquidator by appointing another insolvency professional as liquidator by a resolution passed under clause C of subsection 3 of section 59 or clause C of the regulation, as the case may be. It means they can replace the person, but there is no provision if as a liquidator, if I was appointed as a voluntary liquidator in a company and I want to resign from this post, so I think there is no regulation is here. So this should also be added as per my opinion. So whatever your views, the participants' views, they can also share. Provided that such resolutions shall contain the terms and conditions of the appointment of the liquidator, including the remuneration payable to them, and the insolvency professional shall, within 7 days of his appointment as a liquidator, intimate the board about such appointment. So the liquidator should also intimate to the board within 7 days. The days is also prescribed here. So the liquidator can be replaced, but there is no provision for the resignation of a liquidator. If the voluntary liquidator don't want to continue in the company, then how can they will resign? So I think this provision should also become as per my.
Provision should say that this special resolution should be passed by the shareholders or members, by
Yes,
which
sir.
the replacement should happen.
But if I suppose if I was appointed as a voluntary liquidator, but I want to resign from my post, then
Ma'am, is there any minimum threshold limit? Ma'am, good evening. Am I audible?
Yes, ma'am, you are audible.
Hello.
Sir, for
Yeah.
what, ma'am?
Yeah, is there?
Yes. Ma'am, you are not audible now. So now.
Ma'am, is there any form in IBPI which is to be filled within 7 days? What is the form number?
Sir, some
Is
of
there
the forms
any-
they have mentioned here. I will also show you. These are the forms.
The
they
circular
have
is there,
recently
ma'am.
introduced, but the purpose, how to, these are the forms is here. I will show you. These are the forms. VL1. This include the details of the corporate person, details of the voluntary.
Ma'am, I'm asking for form for intimation
Form.
to IBPI within 7 days. These are at a later stage, I think.
Yes, sir. There is, I think, as per this regulation, if we will see the replacement, this is the only form is here. VL2, the details of the meeting of the contributories with the reason for delay in the process or detail of the replacement of the liquidator, if any. So if they have replaced the liquidator, then on or before the 10th day of the subsequent month, they have required to file this form only. So this is the only here.
Ma'am,
Yes.
in case if AFA is suspended
Yes.
between this process, liquidation process, then how to deal with the this
replacement,
matter in reporting, ma'am?
ma'am, replacement is there. The the contributories will take the call and replace the liquidator. And
So,
they
ma'am,
will.
what would be about the fee of the liquidator which they decided how much, how to, then the company need to pay the double?
No, why double, ma'am? If the other liquidator AFA is already suspended, he has gone from the company. So why there is a need to pay the the double fees? Because the liquidator will not continue whose
Okay,
AFA
ma'am,
is already
intermittent.
suspended. Yes,
He
ma'am.
was suspended during the intermittent process of the liquidation. Say everything is done and application for dissolution is also filed. During that period, the AFA is suspended. Then who will take care of that part?
Ma'am, this is also a very practical issue. And then they will take the call how the fees will be distributed or something. So the application have required to be filed to the IBBI as well as to the NCLT, in which the dissolution is already going on. As per my views and opinion.
As a practical situation therein, no liquidator will say that I had done my job. Now it's you and the another person
But
will
the
take that I will take all the responsibility because
till the date, till they have already done their job, and whatever the fees till the date when they have provided their services have required to be paid. And after that, the period from when the AFA was suspended, you have to intimate to the board, to the NCLT for the replacement of the new liquidator.
There should be some forms description, because I suppose कि जो these forms है VL2 फॉर्म है या कोई दूसरा फॉर्म है, वो जो नया लिक्विडेटर आएगा उसके अकाउंट में वो हिट दिखाएगा नहीं असाइनमेंट.
Because ma'am, this is also mentioned here कि each and every month, subsequent month means each subsequent month we have required to file the form. Whenever we have replaced the liquidator, then the form have required to be filed in the subsequent month on the 10th of the subsequent month. So wo automatically if they have got suppose if the application have been submitted to the board or the NCLT, then and the order was passed for their appointment, so the new liquidator will file the order as well as they have filed the form कि by this form I was replaced. Yeah.
मैम इसमें तो जैसे प्रोविजन में तो लिखा है कि जैसे सीडी कैन, मतलब सीडी अल्टीमेटली देयर इज अ रेस्ट व्हाइल स्टेक होल्डर्स आर देयर, shareholders and board of directors will replace the liquidator through a meeting. So is it required to have filed this application before the NCLT? Because this is a voluntary liquidation. I suppose there is no requirement to file an application before the NCLT.
No, you are saying कि if the liquidator AFA was suspended and whole the proceeding was already completed and the dissolution application is already going on before the NCLT.
Right.
So in this case, it is also required to intimate to the NCLT also, na? The dissolution process was because each and every hearing there is a requirement to go to present the liquidator. Some appearing counsel has
Only an
been
intimation is required, not an approval.
Intimation is required, and because order is also required to be filed to the IBBI, or I think we should also intimate to the IBBI also.
मैम तो ROC में भी जाएगा.
Yeah. Intimation, I think intimation is sufficient because this is the call of the for the appointment of the liquidator is only in the hand of the management or the shareholders of the company.
Yes.
So I think intimation is sufficient.
Intimation to IBBI, ROC and the NCLT.
Yeah. So the appointment of the liquidator is here. eligibility for the appointment of a liquidator as a liquidator. So what is the eligibility? We will discuss here. An insolvency professional shall be eligible to be appointed as a liquidator if he and every partner or a director of an insolvency professional entity of which he is a partner or a director is independent, means independent director. If they can appointed as an independent of the corporate person, only then they can be appointed as a liquidator in a company. So explanation is here. The person shall be considered as independent. What is the definition of independent? Independent of a corporate person if he is eligible to be appointed as an independent director, the independent director on the board of the corporate person under section 149 of the Companies Act. So whatever is provided as per Companies Act in section 149, where the corporate person is a company, if this is a company, then the Companies Act provision will be there for the appointment of the independent director. So the same will be applicable here. Is not a related party of the corporate person, and or is not here, is not a related party of the corporate person. It means this condition is also required to be satisfied, and this is also the not related party of a corporate person, or here is the word is or, has not been an employee or proprietor or a partner of a auditor firm, the firm which is auditor firm of a company, or a secretarial auditor. The word is here, the secretarial auditor. Yeah, this the word is not here, the company secretary's word. They have, because in 2017 when the act was passed, the company secretary word was used here. Now they have replaced this word. The word is here the secretarial auditor or the cost auditor of the corporate person. So they should not be the IP should not be the employee or proprietor or partner of any auditor firm, secretarial auditor firm, and the cost auditor firm. Or here is also or, either ye or ye, of a legal or a consulting firm that has or had any transaction with the corporate person contributing 10% or more of the gross turnover of such firm. So if any firm, if suppose we are working with any legal firm, and if the legal firm proposed me, if I am IP, as a IP in the case of a corporate debtor, but the firm is taking the fees from this corporate debtor. So this is specifically mentioned, the legal or a consulting firm that has or had any transaction, means has in today's or yesterday, has or had any transaction with the corporate person. Corporate person means CD, contributing 10% or more of the gross turnover of such firm. It means the whole turnover of a firm is 1 crore. And however, the 10%, suppose 10 lakh was coming from the from the CD. So this if there is such type of transaction, then the person who is IP of this firm cannot be appointed, because this is specifically mentioned here. At any time in the last 3 years. So we have required to check the 3 years transactions, with the auditor firm or the or this legal or consulting firm. We have required to check the last 3 years transactions. Now an insolvency professional shall not be eligible to be appointed or as a liquidator if he or the insolvency professional entity of which he is a partner or director is under a restraint order of the board. So this is the clear. The liquidator shall disclose the existence of any pecuniary or personal relationship with the concerned corporate debtor, means the CD, or any of its stakeholders as soon as he become aware of it to the board and the registrar. The IP shall not continue as a liquidator if the insolvency professional entity of which he is the director or partner, or any other partner or director of such insolvency professional entity represent any other stakeholders in the same liquidation. So we have required to consider also this point. If we are the IPE, if there is the IPE, and IPE, in IPE, one of the partner of the IPE, if representing any other stakeholders of the same liquidation, then the person of this IPE cannot be appointed as a liquidator. So what is the liquidator's remuneration? The remuneration payable to the liquidator shall form part of the liquidation cost. So whatever the remuneration have been paid to the liquidator will become the part of the liquidation cost. Now reporting, the chapter 4 is related to the power and function of the liquidator. So how the liquidator will report? So the liquidator shall prepare and submit a preliminary report. However, no format was prescribed. Only some section for preparation of the preliminary report is mentioned in this regulation, and statutory report, status report. However, there is nothing is mentioned about this status report, and no provision is also made ki how to prepare this status report. The minutes of the consultation with the stakeholders and the final report. So these documents required to be prepared by the liquidator. However, they have already mentioned how to prepare the preliminary report, but they have not given any format of the preliminary report. And
There is one ambiguity in the regulation.
DG, yes,
The
sir.
liquidator shall prepare and submit to whom?
Submit
To the stakeholders or submit to
Yes.
the NCLT. Because in
The-
normal liquidation,
Hmm.
liquidator is appointed by the court. There we submit the status report to the court every 3 months. No, now this voluntary liquidation process, we go only finally to the NCLT after finishing all these things.
Yes,
So the
yes.
liquidator shall prepare and submit means we submit to whom? This should be unambiguous.
Yes,
If-
so this is only because this is only written here ki subject to the other provision of this regulation, the liquidator shall make a report and minutes referred to in this regulation available to the stakeholders in the electronic or physical form on receipt of an application in writing. Cost of making such report available, yes, sir. This is not mentioned with whom they have submit the report, but I have somewhere read that they have
the regulation
submit the
9, it
report
is
to the
saying it is
Preliminary
IBPI.
report should be submitted to the corporate person.
Yes, sir.
Under
Yes.
regulation 9,
Should be
Yes,
submitted to
sir.
the
it is
corporate
mentioned
person.
it is to be submitted to the corporate person.
Wow.
It is in the, I think, in the act.
1 minute, sir. I'm just reading the preliminary report. The liquidator shall submit the corporate person within the 45 days.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. From the liquidation commencement date.
Ma'am,
So
it is only for the preliminary report. Other reports are also there.
yes.
So when you word a regulation, it should be unambiguous. It should be unambiguous.
Okay.
To whom it should be submitted.
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, it will after commencing voluntary liquidator will scratch it.
So a status report not required to submit to the NCLT also. I will see.
No, if they ask us to submit, we are ready to submit. If it is a quarterly report, but it should be worded clearly. Maximum
It is to
time.
be-
Now the timeline has been reduced. Earlier it was 1 year. Then there was a case for submitting a status report. Now the timeline has been reduced to 90 days if there is no creditors, and 270 days if there are some creditors. So in the case of 90 days, there will not be any need to submit the report because the voluntary liquidation will get itself completed within 3 months. Only when it is extending beyond 3 months, there is a need to submit a report, quarterly report.
So
If
the
that is the
only
case, if
so
that is the
he
case,
will-
IBBA has to specify clearly at the end
Yes.
of quarter it has to be submitted for each quarter. Like that, they have mentioned clearly in the liquidation regulations. Like that, here also, if it is required to be submitted to NCLT, they should mention clearly it has to be submitted for each quarter ending. That has to be clearly mentioned for status report. Preliminary report, it is okay, it is to be submitted to the authorities concerned, and minutes of consultations, it will be attached with status report and submitted to NCLT. Normally, that is what we do in liquidation.
So basically you want, because we will file the final dissolution application to the NCLT. So I don't think there is a need to submit a status report on a quarterly basis to NCLT also. I don't think
Yes.
there is any need to submit this report to anyone.
Now, then
No,
it should
not
be
NCLT.
deleted.
It
Then
is
it should be
the
deleted.
entire
It's not
voluntary
earlier here.
liquidation is the voluntary liquidation is between corporate person and the liquidator only. It is only after completion of the things I think it has to be
Specified under
submitted.
these regulations. So these
No,
regulations.
no, madam.
Yes.
The basis on which it has been, we don't know the basis on which this sub-regulation has been drafted. First thing, this sub-regulation should have been drafted with a background. So why it was included? First case status. If earlier it was 1 year, after the end of 1 year, if voluntary liquidation is continuing, then the liquidator has to convene a meeting of contributories and then submit a report to the NCLT. That was there earlier. Now the timeline has been reduced. The background in which it has been drafted has to be reviewed by the IBBI. Then take a call on this whether it is required or not. If it is required, then they should specify to whom it should be submitted and the frequency in which it has to be submitted.
And I think the status report, it doesn't mean to submit to anyone. Whatever.
This is only to corporate person. It is between liquidator and the corporate person, nothing to do with NCLT. It is only after complete, sale
So
of
I
assets
think,
and
sir, there is no need to submit these reports to the CD also, because CD
Ma'am,
is
it
already
is-
aware.
See, he
mentioned-
appointed
it is mentioned
liquidator for
here.
dissolution. So he has to apprise the management through preliminary report and status report.
So in this regulation, it is very clearly mentioned that in the manner specified under this regulation. So if a status report provided under this regulation, only then we have to submit a status report. If it is not mentioned, then there is no need to discuss this.
That's correct. That's the correct interpretation. Yeah.
Yes. So, so sir, also mention in the comment, I request to the participants, so the ICSI IPA can consider our comments in for submission to the IBBI. Subject to the other provision of these regulations, the liquidator shall make a
Sir,
report.
one question.
Yes, sir.
Previously status report, it was mentioned as annual. Now they have removed annual
Yes,
only.
yes, they
So
have
it
removed.
means that if the CD requires for 3 months, we need to submit status report within 3 months. It means like that only. It means now. So we need to remove that.
In 2024, they have removed the word annual.
Yeah, they have removed the word annual. Now
Yeah, yeah.
it means the status report. If CD asks for 3 months status report, we need to provide.
Oh, that is, once the liquidation extends beyond the specified timeline in the prescribed by IBBI, this has to be submitted. That is the understanding. If it is 90 days or 270 days, as the case may be, if it exceeds the timeline, you have to submit a status.
Yes. Yes, sir.
Since the timeline is not given, the corporate debtor may decide for the status report. Period may be decided by the CD.
Timeline is also mentioned, sir, in voluntary liquidation, sir. I will show you. The timeline is here, sir.
Timeline is given.
This is here.
Hmm.
The completion of liquidations, Regulation 37. The liquidator shall endeavor to complete the liquidation process of the corporate person and submit the final report, not the status report or other reports, the final report under Regulation 38 within
270 days.
270 days from the liquidation commencement date where the creditors have approved the resolution. If there is no creditor, then
90 days.
as per the 90 days from the liquidation commencement date in all other cases. So this is specifically mentioned here, sir.
There is one ambiguity here that it in the form number H, there is a provision under
Form
point
number
H, compliance report. So it is
H, okay,
H.
yes, sir, form
Uh,
number H. 1
hmm.
minute, sir, I'm just opening. Form H. Yes, sir.
Submission of a final report along with application for dissolution.
Hmm.
So
Yes.
what is the meaning of this? Because the submission of a
90
final
is
report along with application for dissolution. So because we firstly we submit the final report and then we proceed for submission of a dissolution application. So this time limit of 90 days or 270 days as applicable is applicable from which date? Which it is liquidation completed
LCD.
till the date of
Liquidation commencement date, sir.
no, liquidation commencement is okay, but which date is treated as liquidation completion?
Sir,
Whether
sir,
it is
so I already told you in the beginning, I also have the confusion, which is the commencement date of the liquidation. So they should
Sir, in case
specifically
there are
mention,
creditors,
yes, they should
in
specifically
case there are
mention.
creditors, it is T plus 270. If there are no creditors, it is T plus
It is,
90.
yes,
no, my
90,
question is here.
but
My question is
what is
different.
the
What is
liquidation
T?
commencement
What
date?
is T is your
Then,
question.
My question is a little bit different.
yes,
90 days or 270 within 90 days, can we have to file dissolution application or within 90
No,
days?
no, sir. No, sir. You need not file dissolution application within 90 days.
Exactly.
You
Then
have to
if you-
submit only the final report within 90 days to IBPI.
Yes, I
That is the
agree.
requirement. Once you
But
file
this-
it to IBPI, you have to enclose that final report in your dissolution application.
Exactly, I have the same point, but this form number H, if you interpret form
You
number
have to
H,
submit along with the application.
Yeah, you have to submit
Yeah.
along with the
And
dissolution
the
application,
H
sir.
also.
This form
So
H
the
is to be submitted
Form
to
H
the
plus application
application. You have to submit to NCLT.
to NCLT.
Whenever you prepare form H, you can also mail a copy to IBPI. No wrong, nothing wrong in it. It is after final report only. Final report will consist of the receipt and payment account, sir. That is the main thing. The balance should become zero. Final receipt and payment. After making all disbursement, making the account zero, you have to close the bank account.
within
You
90
prepare the
days.
final report, audit it, get it audited from an auditor, and submit it final report. That is the final report.
so
And after final report, you prepare form H along with final report, you submit the resolution. This is how we do.
Yeah,
yes,
but
sir,
sir, in
along with
Form
the
H,
final report, the dissolution application and form H, both three together, we have required to submit it to the NCLT.
Correct,
at the
correct,
time
correct.
of filing
Correct. We
the
have to submit all
application.
three to
Yes,
NCLT.
all three documents.
But the
Yeah,
timeline
but
is for the submission of
time-
final report only, as per the regulation.
Yes, but
Timeline is
the-
for submission of final, not for form H.
and for filing of
Sir,
dissolution
but
application,
but
there is-
but this is specifically provided the provision for filing the application to the NCLT required
no,
to
no,
submit
madam,
the
no,
form
madam.
H, the certificate. Yeah.
No, actually, the 90 days timeline is
Hmm.
for filing the final report only. That is, you have to complete the disbursement, get the accounts audited and file it to the IBP. That's the first requirement. Second
But
requirement, prepare the application.
Hmm.
There is no timeline for that. Reasonable time. It will take normally 15 to 20 days for filing an application. If you include that in the 90 days, then the timeline is not sufficient.
yes,
but
that-
sir, in
that should
Form
not be
H,
clear.
yeah, but if you refer to form number H, point number 17, there is a reference that submission of final report along with the application for
Yep.
dissolution to AA, and the timeline is specified as T plus 90/270.
Yes.
This
So I think
That needs to be changed, sir. That needs to be changed.
yeah,
that is
Nobody
the
can file within 90 days because
yeah,
normally if you complete the disbursement within 90 days, that
Yeah.
is the first objective. You have to
Yeah.
complete the
Sir, there is
disbursement,
no
close the bank account.
disbursement, sir.
If you do that,
There is
you
no
will take
disbursement,
minimum
only there are no
3 to 7
creditors.
days.
So
It will
I
take
think
roughly 3 to
this
7 days to get the accounts audited.
filing of dissolution application should be some time limit specified within 30 days or 20 days, whatever, after liquidation.
After
This-
that is
this is the
after 90
timeline.
days, it should
Yes.
come, sir.
Yes.
It's not possible to do all this within 90 days. It is only a directory kind of thing, sir. It is not mandatory. It's only a directory kind of thing. Once you complete the disbursement
Hmm.
and get the final report has been filed within 90 days, no questions are asked. Actually, I have done one voluntary liquidation, filed it to NCLT. Application has been filed only beyond 90 days, no questions asked.
No, that's fine. But if there is a provision, so we have to just correct the.
Yes, it has to be
also.
corrected in the
Yes.
Form H. It has to be corrected in Form H, not
Form
in
H.
regulation.
Yes, Form H also required to be mentioned there, na sir?
Only final report 90 days, ma'am.
Mhm.
Filing of application thereafter 30 days. That
Yes,
should
sir.
be there.
Yes.
So
Ma'am, I have one query that what happens to any tax liability when the liquidation has started? Or say liquidation has started on 1st of September 2025 and the tax liability from 1st April 25 to 30th of September 25, this period, because you can file only income tax return after the end of the year. You cannot file income tax return in between the year.
sir, once the proceeding was already started or the SR was passed for the voluntary liquidation, I don't think there is a need to file any return or something like the ROC return or the tax return, whatever.
If you got refund, substantial refund, you have to file.
Mhm.
Ma'am,
You have to
but
get
say-
a substantial refund, then you need to file and get the money and pay it back to
Yes,
shareholder.
refund process you can initiate.
Sir, my query is different. Here,
Yes.
say the company was having some mutual funds, and now the liquidator is selling the mutual funds, and there is a profit and there is a tax liability on that mutual fund.
Yes, you
on
have to pay
sale.
tax, sir. You have to
Then
pay
you
tax.
have to pay tax and file.
You have to pay
But
tax, sir.
I'll pay the tax, but I cannot file the income tax
You have
return.
to file return.
Yeah,
as
you
well.
pay the
Sir,
tax,
if
sir.
you will
You
not
pay the
file
tax,
the
that's it.
return, they will raise the claim.
Once you file the dissolution application,
Yeah,
you will not be able to file the return.
because
But,
Because
but
the
for
because the
return, you have to
declaration,
wait till
sir,
March 26 and then only
sir, in
the
declaration
returns
you
comes
have
in
also
June,
provided.
in the month of June. So you cannot wait for 1 year to file the returns.
in my case, I have filed the return, sir.
After
I
1
have
year.
Yes, sir. I have filed the returns after the dissolution order. Filed the returns and intimated the IT
Then,
department
sir,
as MCA that the dissolution order has been received and requested to close the PAN number also. We have to do, otherwise they will
you
keep it
can
open. You will get a
that,
message. You
sir,
will get a message since your PAN is linked. You will get a regular message from me.
sir, when we will intimate to the authority, they can also submit their claim. If you have not filed the return, then they can
Ma'am,
submit.
his question is not about the claim, ma'am. It is
Okay.
after the commencement of liquidation, they are encashing some assets like mutual funds. There is a capital gain. There they need to pay a tax. The first question is whether they need to pay tax. Yes, they need to pay tax. Once they pay the tax, they have to file a return. They say whether we need to file a return. Yes, we need to file a return. If required, you pay the tax preparer fees also before liquidation. And they will do the tax return after dissolution order also. No.
Yes,
Once the liquidator is
that is
discharged, how
our-
you can file the income tax return?
Yeah.
Once the NCLT passed the order for dissolution
As
and
per income
liquidator is
tax return,
discharged.
as per income tax return, your the designation stands there. Can you change the designation? Liquidator will still be there. When they will close the liquidation designation, when income tax department will close that.
No, but you are discharged as a liquidator, then how you can file the return after the dissolution is order is passed?
That is, sir. Your question is valid, but that income tax you have to close it properly. Otherwise, you have to pay the tax, not file the return. That is the only option.
Now, okay, sir, got your point. Now, the preliminary report, the liquidator shall submit the preliminary report to the corporate debt person within 45 days from the liquidation commencement date, as we have already read. And what is required to be mentioned here, and we have already discussed ki to the corporate person, is there any need to file this report to the corporate person or not? If the 90 days is the period is there in case of there is no creditor. So what is required to be mentioned in this report? The capital structure of the corporate person, the estimates of the assets of the liability as on the liquidation commencement date based on the books of the corporate person. So what is the assets and liability as on the liquidation commencement date? And provided that if the liquidator has reason to believe to be recorded in writing that the books of a corporate person are not reliable, he shall also provide such estimate based as reliable records and data otherwise available to him. So basically, if there is something in which the liquidator believe that has required to be put into the report, the preliminary report, and but there is no data is available ki how much should be the value of this. So best estimate was given here. The estimate based they can whatever available as per the data they can provide. Whether he intends to make any further inquiry into any matter relating to the promotion, formation, or failure of the corporate person or the conduct of the business thereof. So this is also required to be mentioned in the preliminary report. Now the proposed plan of action for carrying out the liquidation, because they will also give what is the proposed plan of action, including the timeline within which he proposed to carry it out and the estimated liquidation cost. So what would be the estimated liquidation cost will come. So they have required to mention in the preliminary report, which have required to be submitted to the corporate person. So as per regulation, this is provided. Now the
I have
register.
one more query with respect to valuations.
Yes, sir.
Say the company has only mutual fund and the NAV is already available on a daily basis. So do we actually need to appoint valuers to get the fair value of mutual fund?
Yes, sir, because the provision is provided that you can also hire, you can appoint as a valuer also, because this is already written in section which we have read here.
But can I skip appointing valuer, because valuer will not do anything because it is NAV based thing.
Yeah, so if there is no need, then you cannot appoint the valuer.
So there will be no issue.
Because this is not mandatory regulation. This is not written. You have required to appoint necessarily a valuer in a company, because it is specifically mentioned ki if there is any assets and
And
liabilities.
they would have obtained one valuation report. It is not as we are appointing any valuer. Actually, before going for liquidation, management itself appoints a valuer actually. Get
Sir,
the valuation report. It
this
should be
is
annexed
for
along
the
with the
normal
it should-
liquidation, sir.
no,
Not
no.
for the voluntary liquidation, sir.
You just see the declaration. You read in regulation
Yes,
3.
yes,
You go
sir.
back to regulation 3. You see there,
Yes, sir.
and there will be a corporate declaration accompanied by
yes.
following documents. Come below.
Yes,
A
sir.
report on the valuation of the assets of corporate, if any, by received.
If
It
any
is
prepared
for
by
the management to do this prior to passing the resolution.
if any prepared by the registered valuer. So
I think it should not
this
be
purpose-
mandatory, because if any it
this is
written,
not this is
in
not
case of mutual
mandatory clause.
fund,
Yes, sir.
This is by management, not by us.
Yes.
Okay.
If they don't do, what is our problem?
Now, the preliminary report we have already discussed here. Register and books of accounts. Where the books of accounts of the corporate person are incomplete on the liquidation commencement date, the liquidator shall have them completed and brought up to date with all the convenient speed. The liquidator shall maintain the following register and books as may be applicable. The cash book, these are the books have been mentioned here of the corporate person. Now, engagement of the professionals. The liquidator may engage professional to assist him in the discharge of his duties, obligation, and functions for the reasonable remuneration. And the liquidator shall not engage a professional who is his relative, basically it is mentioned here, or the related party of the corporate debtor, or has served as an auditor to the corporate person at any time during the 5 years. Here they have used the word auditor. So auditor means the all three auditors, like the cost auditor, statutory auditor, or secretarial auditor. So they have only mentioned here the auditor word. So I think all three was included, but the I think the more clarity should be mentioned by the IBBI to here. The professional engaged as a proposed to be engaged under sub-regulation 1 shall disclose the existence of any pecuniary or personal relationship with any of the stakeholders, or as soon as he become aware. Now consultation with the stakeholders. The stakeholders constituted under 35(2) shall extend all assistance and cooperation to the liquidator to complete the liquidation of the corporate person. Like we see in CIRP or liquidation, we have required the assistance from the CD. The extortionate credit transaction, that a transaction shall be considered as an extortionate credit transaction under section 50 subsection 2, where the terms require the corporate person to make exorbitant payment, as we have already read this section in liquidation or CIRP process. And the public announcement by the liquidator, Form A is there for making the public announcement within 5 days, because in this case the 5 days is provided. In CIRP, the days are 3 days. The public commencement shall call upon the stakeholder to submit their claims. And this is basically, this is the normal provision which we have already read as a public announcement. I will also show you what is the changes is came in 2025, because the time is very few time is there. So I'm just show you what is the amendments is there. Because in January 28th January 2025, what is omitted? If we will see this section, the whole regulation 33 regulation was omitted in 2025. What is provided as per this regulation? The liquidator to realize uncalled capital and unpaid capital contributions. So basically this regulation was deleted by the IBBI. Why deleted? Because there is a very typical, if this is a public company, in this case, how to realize the amount from the contributory, or if a company which was incorporated in 19 before coming into force the digital mechanism of ROC or something, the digital documentation is there, or if so it was difficult to realize the uncalled capital. So this provision, this regulation was deleted now. So there is no need to the liquidator to realize any uncalled capital or unpaid capital contribution amount as of now. So this changes was inserted by the IBBI, so the fast process can be initiated in the voluntary liquidation. Now, what is the other changes? This was also substituted on 28th January 2025. So what is the 32 point number 32? This was substituted. The board shall maintain and operate an account to be called the corporate voluntary liquidation account with the scheduled bank, because earlier the scheduled bank, because this was substituted here. Before substitution, it was stood that the board shall operate and maintain an account to be called a voluntary corporate voluntary liquidation account in a public account of India. This was mentioned public account of India. Now this is mentioned with the scheduled bank. So with any scheduled bank, the IBBI can open this account, because this is not the public as of now, not a public amount, provided that. Why they have provided this? They have provided this only because of provided that until the corporate voluntary liquidation account is operated as part of a public account of India, the board shall open a separate bank account with the scheduled bank for the purpose of this regulation. So because this is until the corporate voluntary liquidation account is operated as a part of public account, because this is still is not open and not a part of the public account of India. So therefore the board have the option to open a separate bank account with the scheduled bank for this purpose till the date when this will be opened. So the liquidator shall deposit the amount of unclaimed dividend, if any, or undistributed proceeds, if any, in this account. Now, what is the other changes? This we have already discussed. Now, this was inserted in 2025. So what is this inserted here? The filing of forms, because now this is mandatory. The liquidator shall, because shall word is here, so this is mandatory. The liquidator shall file the form along with the enclosures thereto on an electronic platform of the board, means IBBI board, as per the timeline stipulated against each form in the table below. So they have already mentioned that when we have required to file the form, so voluntary one form is this include the details of the corporate person, detail of the voluntary liquidation process, and this form required to be filed on or before the 10th day of the second month after the public announcement. Details of the meeting, we have already discussed this form on or before. This is also on or before the 10th day of the subsequent month. Detail of the dissolution application, detail of the unclaimed proceed, detail of the realization and distribution made to stakeholders, or detail of pending litigation any, or direction of fraud or insolvency if any, etc. They have also required to file the form on or before the 10th day of the subsequent month. Now, volume 4, voluntary liquidation form 4, the details of the order of dissolution. This when the order was passed, then also required to be filed on or before 14th day of the passing of the order. For others form, the date is the 10th of the subsequent month. But for this form, the date is the 14th day of the passing of the order of the dissolution of the corporate person. So we have required to file these 4 forms to the IBBI and other changes. Case of the stakeholders entitled to unclaimed dividend or undistributed proceeds. So this was substituted earlier. They have given this was now we have required to put like this. The B part is there. So we have required to put these details is like this. So these are the changes which was made in 2025 by the IBBI on 29th January 2025. These are the changes whatever prescribed by the IBBI. Now we already discussed some of the changes have required to be made in some of the regulations, but I also want to discuss one more regulations, because I think there should also be a change required to be made by the IBBI. Proof of claim. A person who claim to be a stakeholder shall prove his claim for debt or dues to him, including interest, if any, as on the liquidation commencement date. So the liquidation commencement date we have already discussed that there is some changes required in the language of this liquidation commencement date, what date should be considered. So if a person who claims to be a stakeholder shall prove his claim for the debt, because if I will read, some other provision is also there which provides that the creditor can submit their claim to the liquidator, and if the liquidator will not consider the claim, they can go for the appeal. And I have also seen one of the provision is there within 270 days we have required to fulfill all the voluntary liquidation. But in case, suppose if the 270 days have passed away or the 90 days have passed away, there is no specific provision has been mentioned for the extension. So I think there should also be a provision for the extension required to be provided by the IBBI in this case if this was happened, or one more provision should be there if suppose if the liquidator has been changed. So there is no specifically mentioned in this in any of the regulation of this voluntary liquidation that the voluntary liquidator should required to maintain a separate email ID. Suppose if the replacement has been made, some other voluntary liquidator was appointed, then how can they will take the handover from the earlier liquidator? So I think there should be a email ID compulsorily one email ID should required to be mentioned here, which required to be maintained for the voluntary liquidation also, because in the CIRP case or liquidation case we have seen the handover of the email ID is required to be given by the liquidator, but in this voluntary liquidation scenario there is nothing is mentioned. And also extension, if there is any delay, suppose if one of the creditors have came after some time and they have filed the appeal before the NCLT, then the liquidation is going on, voluntary liquidation is going on more than 2 years. So is there how to take the extension for this liquidation process? So as per my opinion, these points required to be mentioned, and the other participants, if they want to share their views, they can share. What other changes have required to be made in this liquidation?
Ma'am, we are discussing regulation 34.
Yes, sir. 1 minute, sir. Yes, sir.
Ma'am, in regulation 34, not 24.
34. Yes, sir.
There's a need to designate one of the existing bank accounts of the company as the liquidation account, because account opening and closing process itself takes most of the time on the sidelines. And many a times this becomes the single reason for the process not finishing within 90 days. There's too much traction in opening a new account. There's too much friction. There's no standardized procedure. Many bankers don't even know how to do this, and they just give it to their back office. After 15-20 days, they come back and tell you, sorry, we are not able to open it. And then you go and rush to the other bank. And similarly on closure also, because it will be an early closure. As soon as the bank account is opened, we transfer all the amount and then we immediately distribute and go for the closure. So even in early closure, the banks also have a problem. So we should, when there's already a bank account, suppose the company is having multiple bank accounts, we should have a provision that only one of those accounts will be kept opened and it will be designated as the liquidation account, and all other accounts can be closed and balance transferred into this account. So this exercise can save at least a month's time, which causes delays in 90 days process.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bilkul. So you should mention your comment if you want to mention. I think IBBI is also recording our comments. So this will perfect, because this is also a time taken process.
Yes.
And sometimes some of the private banks don't know how to open this type of accounts. They are not having the forms also.
Yes, and all the processing is done in the back office. So the friend doesn't know whether the back office will approve it or not. And then sometimes they come back and they have some 20-year-old guidelines on opening the liquidation accounts, and they want the documentation in line with those documents, including a court order for liquidation. So, so that wastes a lot of time in educating the bankers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Bilkul. I'm agree with you. And some other participants, if they want to submit their comments, they can submit.
There should be a provision for midway closure of this voluntary liquidation. If in between there is some change in mind of the management, they want to again
in which provision, any regulation you are specified, or
there is no provision in any regulation. That is why the problem is. So some provision should be there. If the company's management wants to again reinstate the company back, so by passing a special resolution, they should be able to do it. Otherwise, you have to go to NCLT and get the order from NCLT. That takes a lot of time.
Means you are saying if they have take the decision and they have passed the SR only, and now they want to again want to run the company as a going concern. So so in this case you want to suggest they can take the order from the NCLT, because NCLT to doesn't know whatever they have passed.
No, they can exercise that Rule 11, powers under Rule 11, and again reinstate the company as a going concern. But that takes a lot of time and energy. So if the regulation provides that if the special resolution is passed by the members again to revert the company back as a going concern and close the
Sir, if
liquidation.
the special majority was taking the decision, and after taking the decision, they want to go back for running the company as a going concern. So at that time, why they have take such type of decision?
There will be a
Question
change in the
arise, no,
business
sir?
conditions, so that
Yeah.
there can be commercial reasons
Sir,
for that.
this will be unnecessary burden will be exercised.
There was a
on the-
proposal, if you remember, 2-3 years
Yes.
back, there was a proposal to make a provision for midway closure of voluntary liquidation. It was proposed in the amendment bill, but that could not be passed. So I think that exit route should be available for the management also if they want to reinstate the company back as a going concern by midway closure of the voluntary liquidation.
Yes, sir, you can mention your comment, but I'm not very satisfied with
No,
your.
there was a provision in the amendment bill, I think 2021. They wanted to do that, but that bill could not be passed by the parliament. So that's why it is not happening. There is a provision, proposal in that bill to make
So-
this provision.
Oh, sir, but this will unnecessary, the time of NCLT will be consumed.
No, you don't have to go to
Liquidator
NCLT
time
in that case.
Okay.
By the
The
resolution
liquidator
passed by the
time-
company's members, you can
Yeah.
revert back to the original status. So no involvement of NCLT will be required.
Sir, to my submission, there is no bar if the management takes a decision to withdraw the liquidation process. There is no, nothing is
Because-
provided.
Yeah, because
There is no provision in the regulations like
No,
that.
provision of regulation is for to complete the process through a specific guidelines. If the management wants that there is, we don't withdraw the voluntary liquidation process, that can be passed through a stakeholders resolution, and the copy of that resolution be filed with the IBBI and the ROC. I don't think there is any harm in that.
Yes.
Yeah, there is no
And I
specific
don't
provision.
think there is a need to make any regulations of such kind of regulations by the.
Correct.
No, there was an amendment bill proposed in that line. So this was, this is aware, IBBI is aware of this situation and they have proposed like that in that amendment bill.
No issue, sir. Some other participants, if they want to share their comments on this regulation, they can put the email. I was already put down my comment. The email ID should also be required. The separate email ID should required to be made by the voluntary liquidator in this case also, and this have required to be mentioned in the regulation also, as already written in the CIRP process or the liquidation process. So here should also be mentioned the separate email ID required to be maintained by the liquidator. And I think the conclusion, we can conclude this regulation now, because I have shown you whatever, because you have already read the whole regulations and you all are expert here who are attending this webinar. So I think all the participants have give their feedbacks and comments, and their lovely comments, which was always appreciated. And thank you so much for attending this webinar and participating here. And I will also tell you, there are the eight more webinar series was organized by the ICSI IPA. on these regulations, on all the regulations which was amended by the IBBI. So I request to all the participants to participate in all the webinars and contribute their feedbacks or their initiatives. So thank you so much. So now I am concluding with your all these lovely comments and all your feedbacks. So thank you so much. So
Thank you,
I
madam.
think,
Thank you.
yeah.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, ma'am.
Ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.
The participants for such an interactive session.
Thank you.